All right, so in this video, we're going to answer kind of a strange question. Find h and k so that this expression on the left is equal to the one on the right. This is not a usual question. It's not very common. I'm just kind of making up a situation, kind of show you a problem-solving skill. What we're doing is we're converting from factored form into vertex form here. But all I'm going to do is I'm going to work out the left-hand side. All right, x minus h plus k. And I'll work out the right-hand side, x squared minus 6x plus 2x minus 12. And I got a little bit more to do here. So x times x will be x squared. All right, your x and your negative h, that'll be a negative hx. A negative h times an x will be another negative hx. And then a negative h times a negative h. That'll be a positive h squared. And then I've still got that plus k at the tail end. All right, x squared, this will become a minus 4x for those two. All right, the only thing left I can do here is combine these two terms. So it's going to be x squared. I've got two of these negative 1 hx's. So that's going to become negative 2 hx. And then plus the rest of it. All right, so I basically simplified both sides of the equation. That's what I did. So now what I'm going to do is something a little strange, is I'm going to compare parts of one side of the equation to parts of the other side. So you see how this one is my x term? It's the only one on this side that has an x. And over here, this is my x term. So this negative 4x needs to match up with this negative 2hx. So think for a second what h has to be. All right, h is going to have to equal a 2, so that way, negative 2 times 2 will give you this negative 4. All right. If you don't want to think of it that way, you could write a little equation like this. Negative 2hx equals negative 4x. Kind of cancel out those x's. Those don't matter. We're solving for h anyway. And then divide by negative 2. And that's where our 2 is coming from. But I just like looking at them, and you can usually tell what h has to be just based on looking at the two parts that are equivalent. So we need that to figure out the k. All right, so this doesn't have an x at all. So this is going to be like my constant part over here. So this h squared plus k is going to equal the negative 12. But I know what h is. I can go ahead and take the 2 and plug that in for h. So, 2 squared is 4. So I get 4 plus k is equal to negative 12. And then subtract 4 from both sides. And k is equal to negative 16. All right. I know it's a kind of a strange process, but it is what it is. Like we kind of simplified it out, worked it out, and then we were comparing the x parts to figure out the h, and then we were comparing the, constant parts, the parts with like a regular number, to figure out what the k had to have been. All right, I'm gonna give you one more that's kind of like that. So same type of question, find h and k so that this is equal to that. So I went ahead and worked out the left side, and if you'll notice, all this stuff on the left right here, this is exactly what I had earlier on my paper at this step. So you should probably write this part down at least, so you don't have to actually work all this out. And then, of course, I work that out as well. All right, so what I want to do is look at the parts that are equivalent here. So this negative 2hx has to match up with the negative 14. So just from that, hopefully you can tell what h has to be. H is going to have to equal a 7, because 2 times 7 gives you the 14. All right, the last bit is this h squared plus k part. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say h squared plus k. That's going to match up to my 40. That is equal to 40. And I know what h is already. H is equal to 7. So it's going to be 7 squared, which is 49. And then you just subtract the 49 from both sides. So k is equal to negative 9. All right. One thing I want to point out is if h was negative, like let's say h was negative 7, this will still be a regular 49 down here, because if you square a negative, negative 7 times negative 7, it will still be positive down here. So keep that in mind.